Today, let's talk about your CV strategy and why I recommend having 3 CVs, 3 cover letters, that's the abbreviation, for every resume. And this came about because when you are applying to different roles, especially in this economy, your resume does one thing, right? It paints one picture, but you need your CV to really tailor your experience to do 2 things: match the current job description that's at hand. The second thing should be a role that you are trying to grow into, meaning that's like your promotion role that entails you getting a higher salary, meaning you're going from being a tax person to a person that is part of leadership meetings, leadership reviews, giving feedback, more than just your whatever your current role is. And then you would have your filler CV, cover letter, and that would just mean like it explains your experience. Say, because right now with after the way everything changed after the pandemic and all that, companies are now understanding, especially since they have called a lot of people back into the office, working hybrid, or some companies, they're working on site. So they have the benefits package as far as, they understand now that people are taking sabbaticals, right? It's normal that you may take a year off from work and your savings may look good. You may be in a great position financially, that you may just, have some mental health stuff going on, or you may just be overwhelmed in your career at the stage of your career, and you just want to have a sabbatical, maybe take 3 months off. And this is not due to, everyone doesn't qualify under the Family Medical Leave Act. And that is more so like, maybe your company knows that you have dealing with some things in your past, or maybe, something happened in your family and you kind of just need a timeout. That may qualify more under Family Medical Leave, but this is more so like they're not paying you for this leave. This would fall more under your sabbatical, right? Your sabbatical is funded by you. It's coming from your savings. You might have just taken your bonuses that you got through, years before, and maybe you're banking that as well. And you're like, you know what? Next year, this time, I'm taking a sabbatical. I'm taking a year off. Your role is in a good spot. You have already a good reputation with your boss. You already worked it out with them. You already, told them that you kind of need it mental health wise, but you also need it anyway from anxiety or whatever. And you are okay with like paying this money out of your pocket. You're not expecting a company to pay for anything for you, as well. So that's where that one comes into. And then, like I said, your third one would be more so, excuse me, getting over a cold. Your filler one, that it kind of explains that, right? So if you come back to work and now you are, kind of like your position is good. You've been there maybe 3 to 5 years, and now you kind of want to start interviewing. And it's like, okay, how do I explain this break in my resume? And it also helps recruiters as well, just because depending on your role, if you are applying for a full-time staff role through a company, through the website, you're probably going in portals like Workday or maybe Greenhouse or whatever that company uses. This is where you kind of need to explain your experience. And that would be that filler CV that talks about you took your sabbatical, or you took time off, or you're caring for a parent, that kind of thing, and you're okay with not getting paid for it. And it just explains it, and then you go into your experience on why you are qualified for the role that is listed. So that's the third one. Now, the first one, let's table back to that one. The first one is your strategic resume. This is your CV that it aligns with your resume and it aligns with the position at hand, meaning it's easily accessible. Your keywords kind of match the job description. And I'm not talking about when AI kind of like, you know how when you ask AI to convert your resume to the job description, recruiters are kind of on point about that now. So that's not really working. Like a lot of people, you hear them complaining and saying, "Oh, and I matched my resume totally. You know, I had AI match my resume up with the job description." But they're knowing that everyone's kind of doing that. So what happens is if a lot of people's resumes are starting to sound alike, then you're going to have it to where they're not going by that. So that's why I'm challenging you rather, to kind of like tailor your resume, right? Tailor your CV to match that resume for that role. And like I said, this is the aligned role. This is your core resume, right? Just like when you go to the gym, right? Your core, right? That's your middle ground. That's what's keeping everything intact. This is your experience. This is protects you if a company that you're getting a role at, like pharmaceutical or maybe a finance company, enterprise, brands, they're known to do background checks, right? So this protects you. This protects your resume from, like, inflated titles, or, because right when they're doing that background check, they're asking, like, is there a discrepancy in her title? Not only is there a discrepancy in her date, people tend to fudge their titles as well. Right, so this is the resume, this is the CV that matches your resume, that matches that job description. It's on your level. The pay band is either it's at the rate you're making right now, or it's 10 or 20,000 higher, just depending on the role. For instance, if you are in a role that may be a hybrid and you're trying to apply to a role that is 100% remote, so you might be okay with taking the minimum salary that you have, like the band that's in your head or on paper. You might be okay taking the lower end of that salary because it's a remote role, right? Now, that doesn't mean where they are down, where they are trying to lowball your role. No, this is still like it's on your level. It's not like you're not doing anything out of the norm, but you are okay with, you like, you know what, I can live on this amount just to get some of my time back. But remember, like I told you in my other video about remote roles, my video where remote is a carrot, that you still have to be fair, because a lot of times if it's a permanent remote role, you might not be working 8 hours. You might be working 10 hours or 11 hours, depending on the company, especially if you have a lot of regulatory going on and it's a remote role. Your position might not be, your role might not be a 9 to 5 role. It could easily be 9 to 7, 10 to 6, all that kind of stuff. Or days that you have submissions going on, that might be at late night. So again, that protects you under your core aligned CV. The next one is your strategic cover letter. This is the cover letter to where anytime you're talking about or expecting to get promoted, you have to see this as looking up, right? Upward mobility. It's like an elevator, right? You're going up. So since you're looking at a role that's upwards, you have to get out of tactical to more strategic, right? So you're moving more strategy. And this is how does your role impact your team, right? This is where you talk about some of your wins. Now, again, your resume is kind of like a little blur with your core, should be your high level tasks that you've done, and then your CV can be like where you get more into like the nuts of it. But this should be more like your KPIs, right? How did you impact your team? How did you help your team? The campaign that you were in charge of, did that campaign, become winning behind it, right? This is your wins. This is where you humbly brag about what sets you apart from the rest of the competition. That's what that CV is more for. And again, this is roles that maybe you are looking to get a $20,000, like maybe your salary right now is say 120, 130, and now you're looking at roles that's like 150 to 175 or 150 to 200. And maybe you don't have to be in the 200, the high part, but maybe you're okay with being at 150, 155, but it's enough room to where you can negotiate. So that's why I said this is where you are bragging on yourself. And the thing is that, remember, the better the role is, the more competition you're going to have in that role. So this is bigger than I was the senior leader on this thing or I was the head person. This is more like what you are talking about and bragging on maybe your launch experience. Like maybe your launch, maybe the launch that you was on, the impact was great, right? Maybe the quarter it went in, it did very well. The first week, not only the click-through rate was great, not only did people open up the emails, but it had impact. They bought the product. They didn't just add it to the cart. It wasn't abandoned in the cart. They bought it, right? Now that is here, that's a little nuance, right? Because a lot of that does not have to do with you. You can use some of the wins in your CV. That's what I'm saying. And then the third one is that's the second one for promotion, right? And then the third one is, like I said, this is where you explain. So this is your filler CV. This is where you explain your sabbatical. This is where you explain what you're doing. This is where you also explain your why you're looking to leave the company, right? A lot of times you'll see, especially if you are in a role, like say you got a role and it's really not aligned with you. It looked great on paper, but the team is not working out. Or like your position in life changes. So now you have to explain, hey, you've only been in this role a year. Why are you looking to move already? This is where you use that filler CV to just make it make sense, right? So you can kind of talk about your why. And this is kind of because when they are first screening resumes, whether it's the computer, the recruiter, ATS, or they're using AI, they're really just looking at your resume. Then the CV is more like an added bonus. However, a lot of times, and I know this because I know people that are recruiters in long-time agencies, a lot of times after they AI screen those resumes or that ATS screen, they will then pick those resumes. Say it's like 10 ones that are really great. They'll then take those 10 resumes that are great and now get the top 5 people. And those top 5 people are the people that now they've read their CVs. So those are the 5 people that would really be getting called now to get that interview, right? That coming in, because it's like you took the extra step to make yourself impactful and show what you bring to the table. And this is more so, like I said, because when you are dealing with roles that have the same title, everyone starts kind of looking the same, right? It's like they seen one experience. Recruiters are taking like 3 minutes, or a website or that AI, they're taking like 3 minutes to look at that resume. So this is where you want to have that CV tailored. So that way you are in that, you get in that interview request. Your email is lighting up. And again, because we're in a place where it's so many layoffs happening right now. Layoffs are happening across the board, different companies. And you also have a lot of companies that are still I call them like dinosaur companies, right? Like they might not care or be at the level of how can you use AI to help the workflow, right? How is AI helping you with like notes and stuff? They might not be there because it's not approved yet, especially if you are dealing with highly regulated fields. That stuff has to get approved, right? Like cybersecurity, all that stuff has to get approved. So they might still fast forward it. They might still work in a fast forward way, but not all the way fast forwarded, right? Because they have those different stipulations. So that's where you want to have those different resumes, those different roles. And again, I want to challenge you to just, now you're hearing that, you see on LinkedIn or a Fishbowl, CVs don't matter. They don't even read it, but no, they do read it. I have friends in these spaces. I have recruiters that I've been with for a long time in agencies, and no, they do read it. It's after that initial screen, when they screen up those keywords and it made sense, then they go and and the people that didn't have a CV, they don't get a chance. Their CV may be that extra push to get your resume out there. Now, of course, when you have the interview, then that's your time to really sell your skills, right? High level as well as your wins. That's when you want to speak to that, but you also want to get into the nooks and crannies of the role and what it entails. So I am just challenging you to not just, upload that resume. I know it's quicker. Everyone wants to move fast, or like they say, easy apply. They want to do that. But like, no, even if it's an easy apply, you should still be second looking at the website, seeing what the company is from, going to that website and see if that same role is on that website, and then going to that website and using that portal to upload your resume, upload your CV. I use a platform called I Love PDF. It's free. It merges your cover letter and your resume after you tweak it. You can just use that. You merge it there, you download it, edit it out, fix it, and then just upload that one click to the portal and you're good to go. And you will definitely see an increase in interviews coming your way as opposed to just, throwing your resume up in the portal. Because you have to remember, if 100 people are applying to a job, and this is hybrid now. This is not only remote. Before it was 100 people applying to remote roles. Now it's more than 100 people even applying to hybrid roles. You have to set yourself apart and make sure that you're doing more and not doing the most, meaning, you're doing jumping jacks, you're doing cartwheels, backflips. No, I'm talking about doing more strategically, and that way you're aligned. And that way, when you look at a certain resume, you could say, you know what? This looks like a 200K resume. Like, I'm not surprised her salary is 200. She's asking for 200K because this resume looks like it included her wins. Or this resume looks like it's, 65K. And that's okay as well, right? Because it just depends on what level you're at. This is more, like I said, nuance. And this is more evergreen, right? So I'm just speaking to different types of people. But I want to at least challenge you where you could use those 3 different CVs to have your resume do more work for you. And that's it. So if you like this kind of content, again, I'm giving advice from experience as well as advice from working with agencies for multiple years, staffing companies, as well as pivoting through using freelance to pivot through different fashion industries and insider things that I know about, which is a different video. But anyway, that's here nor there. Anyway, again, like, subscribe, follow the content if this makes sense for you, and see you at the next one.